Welcome to Brain Candy Podcast. She's back. Croatian queen, Sarah Rice, back in the new world.
That's right. I should say, Dobar dan for my Croatian friends.
Mean?
That
hello?
means hello. Yeah, it's kind of like good day. Like, Dobar dan, Dobar dan, Dobar dan.
Does everybody say it all the time?
Yeah. You know,
That's
like,
great.
as we got there, as soon as we arrived, and we're taking an Uber, which, by the way, Uber in other countries, that's fantastic. It's so easy to do.
I didn't even know that. I guess I should have figured.
And like half the price of the taxi. So there's some little insider info. Use Uber everywhere. But, you know, we were asking the cab driver, you know, what are some words? We didn't even learn anything before we came here. Like, what do we need to know? And then, you know, they tell you, and then you just hope that they didn't teach you, like, F your mother or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, okay, I'm going to use this. And so, like, we'll see.
It's like an old Croatian gag.
Right. I'm like, what are we doing here? So I heard a few people use it. I'm like, okay, we're good. So, and then thank you is voila.
Voila. Okay.
Yeah.
Voila. How would you describe the general disposition of Croatians, like this sort of collective stereotype of like what they're all about? You know how Thai people are smiley and nice?
Yeah. I would say, like, imagine Italians, and if you mixed Italian and Russians. If you took Italians, like, love, like hospitality and, like, warmth and, like, appreciation of the land and the surroundings that they're on, and like their desire to also like party and have a good time, and you mix that with like this very kind of almost like it's almost like a masculinity, like this
I was gonna say a sturdiness. Yeah, I sense that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then that to me would be the Croatian personality type.
That's nice.
Yeah. It was nice except on one island where we felt a lot of racism. And there was a lot of
towards
graffiti.
You?
Towards, there was a lot
towards
of
black people.
Nazi, towards Jewish people and towards black people. And words and symbols that were so offensive and like, and then we were, you know, Eli paints his nails, or I should say I paint Eli's nails. And we were like getting an espresso as we were about to hop back on the boat. Just like a little boat tour we're on that stops at these little islands. And in one of the coffee shops, one of the guys who work there, like asked him like, "Are you gay?" And he's like, "No, I just like to paint my nails." And he goes, "You know, if you wear that, like we would beat you up for that. Like we don't take any of that here." It was, and it was so uncomfortable that then Eli went to the bathroom. And I was like, I felt it was bordering on unsafe. Just in that moment. And it was so different than what we had felt on the main land and in other bigger cities. It did not feel like that.
Okay.
But this one island did feel like that.
You were in the equivalent of like Alabama.
Yeah, just like one pocket of like on this island.
Not all Alabamans.
Right. Or Croatians.
Right. But, well, yeah, like there's the culture in certain areas, I'm sure, can have more or less of that. Yeah. Wow. Good to know.
Yeah. That was the only time. But besides that, like, you know, felt.
Well, we missed you. We were living vicariously through you. It looked so beautiful. Oh, I was very jealous.
I gotta say, like,
it looked so peaceful.
It was. And, you know, I was really nervous because a lot of those places that look so beautiful on Instagram and you see all the pictures, you know, you get there and it's like, you know, the Trevi Fountain in Italy where somebody's taking photos at 4 a.m. when nobody's there and it looks beautiful. But then when you go at 2 p.m., it's insane, and there's so many people holding their phone up, you can't even enjoy it. It's just like madness.
There are too many humans
so
just on Earth.
Yeah. But this, I was happy to say, was not like that. That there were tiny little moments where there were, you know, some touristy things, but there were enough beautiful places that we visited that felt very like exactly like the pictures looked. And Eli and I went to, one little island that was like one of our favorite little stops, where he and I went skinny dipping in like a little cove, and we're by ourselves for hours. And
That's
it
nice.
was like magical.
That's really cool. Little Blue Lagoon or whatever they call it.
Totally.
What
Yeah,
is.
it was awesome. So
That's great.
all in all,
Welcome
wonderful
home.
trip. 10 out of 10.
I told Sarah, my hellish summer continues. I've had nothing but bad luck. My trip to Boston was canceled 3 hours or something before we were going. And
I can't believe that. How can they just do that?
I know. And well, actually,
That doesn't
it
make
was
sense.
just over 4 hours. Because if it had been 4 hours or fewer, then we would have been compensated more than just a refund. But they did it. I think it was 4 hours and 15 minutes or something. And I was like,
that
"You
almost feels
fuckers."
intentional. They like waited
Yeah,
until
I
the
think
very
it
last
was.
minute.
Yeah,
Oh.
but all what do we say when things go sideways, kids? Maybe it's a gift. I said that to Lincoln, like about how I said to you too, like, hey, that plane might have crashed, Link. We might have been dead.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's on the other side of that quantum leap. So
Yeah, sliding
all
doors,
is
man.
not law.
Sliding
Right.
doors. I really do believe that.
Happened. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. So, but I did get to go to the Belinda Carlisle concert in Ohio with two of my gays, and that was a hoot and holler.
Can you tell me who Belinda Carlisle is?
She is the former lead singer of the Go-Go's. So
Oh, fun.
you went on vacation and I heard her sing it. I just thought it was funny to take a 4-hour road trip with Kelly and Todd. Shout out to Kelly and Todd. And go see a singer I don't really care for. But if that's any indication of how I can become a fan in a matter of minutes,
Yeah.
at the concert, it would have been real fun at Beyonce with me, because
Suze.
I would have turned into a super fan, and she blew
I
it.
know you would have.
I mean,
I know.
listen, Beyonce
Can you
can
believe
kick
that?
rocks.
I mean, for real.
I mean, she has some splaining to do.
Seriously, I need a better explanation than technical difficulties. It's
Well, yeah,
like Beyonce
but
did the
scheduling
concert
and technical
version
difficulties.
of "I'm going through a tunnel. I can't hear you." Okay,
Right? How rude!
that's what that felt like. I was like, "What? What? Did she say
It's
God
not
bless?"
okay. And like you pointed out, a lot of people book flights, and it better be a good reason. And I'm not hearing one
Right.
anyway.
Oh, I had my outfit picked out and everything. Oh well, we're just gonna have to do like a, I don't know. What do you do? What's the?
Like, how do we get over it?
Yeah,
I don't have a way.
I know. I don't have. I was like, oh, maybe we'll just like have a night where we like, dress up in exactly what we're gonna wear, and we can just watch that. But no, I'm too mad. I'm too mad about it.
Yeah, I'm hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're back in
But
business.
this, I do kind of feel like you asked for, this is how the universe works. Like, I don't know. It's always like a big old joke. The universe like loves, like, it's like the universe is like making like dad jokes up there. Like, oh yeah, you asked for that.
You want adventure, huh?
Right. Then the year Susie was like, I want a year of comedy. It's going to be the year of comedy. That was like our pandemic year. And we always joke like, oh, we didn't know it was going to be a dark comedy. And then this year is like year of adventure. And you didn't mean like the adventure of having to put up with a bunch of things getting canceled and rescheduled. Like, talk about an adventure.
I didn't mean that.
No, we didn't mean that. We have to get really, really specific.
I mean, but it is definitely has been an adventurous year for me. So far.
Oh
so,
my God.
Even including
the
like,
adventures
the
should not be to the ER. Please.
Right. No, but like even me taking Link fishing. I mean, I didn't want to do that.
I saw those pictures. That looked awesome, Suze.
We had a great time, but like typically I would only do that if Adam were coming, but he couldn't come, and Link really wanted to go, and I'm like, okay, and we had a really fun time.
You looked real cute in those green boots.
Those were
That's a look.
necessary. It was like a goddamn bog.
Right.
I was like, this is not what I signed up for. But
Not like when I wear my
think
rain
that-
boots in Los Angeles when it's just a drizzle.
I mean, for me, the adventure really is just saying yes to more stuff that I would normally be like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, good.
So it's all good. Anyway, we're back in business, and I have to, get you guys caught up on all of the sports I've become interested in. It's never ending.
Oh gosh, this is great. Susie's gonna go from like hating sports to then like, I don't know, like signing up for like intramural leagues, or like she's like gonna go back to school just so she could like be in like intramural, like collegiate sports.
It is true. You know how we always said that like going on the challenge is real lucky if you were a person who was super sporty like you in high school and competed, and that kind of gets in your blood. And so, and there aren't a lot of opportunities to do that as an adult in a serious way. And so I didn't mean to, but we really did get to enjoy that feeling of like competition even in adulthood. So I guess I do need to think of something to do with all this sports enthusiasm. I also am enthusiastic, by the way, about my Ritual vitamins.
Susie, have you heard they have a new product?
Yes, I got it.
Me too, because why wouldn't I?
Mm-hmm. You said it. We're not getting any younger, right?
Definitely not.
Skin is changing. What is the name of it, though? It has a name. What is
like
it? Like
Hydro
magic?
something.
Yes, Hydro Skin Magic Powder Dust Vitamin.
Look at how good we are at advertising. We're like, look, it's called something Hydro. It's the blue bottle. It smells amazing. And when I say it smells amazing, I mean, like, I opened it up
vanilla.
And I'm like, what? How does vitamins even, like, get off smelling so amazing like this? Who gave you permission to smell so delicious? I'm going to eat this up.
It hydrates your skin from the inside out. I don't know how it does it, but it's great. And I need all the skin help I can get as I get older, because I got bad news for you. Goes to Christmas feature here. Skin does not get better as you get older.
Yeah, you see all those new filters that show you what you look like when you age? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, so much of that is just hydration, that I just need to keep my skin moisturized and like fight those little wrinkles. Like, everybody's beautiful and everything, but I love a little dewy skin.
Yeah, everybody's beautiful and everything. So now I'm on the multivitamin that tastes like mint and doesn't make my stomach sick. The skin one that I can't remember the name of that's great. And the essential protein, because I'm in Arnold's Pump Club, as you know. Yeah. And we are working out like crazy maniacs over here. So the protein is also vanilla, and it's vegan, like peas grown in
pea powder. Yeah.
Yes. It's amazing. Once you try essential protein, you won't want to go a day without it. Lucky for you, Ritual's offering our listeners 20% off during your first month. Visit ritual.com/braincandy to start Ritual or add essential protein to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/braincandy for 20% off. Yes. You might not consider this a sport, but I watched the 30 for 30 on competitive eating. And
Eli's been really interested in this lately too, and just been like, "Have you heard about this?"
I can see him doing it because he really is enthusiastic about food. Yeah, like he's passionate.
Susie, he doesn't need a new hobby to get enthusiastic about. Like, let's stick to mountain biking. He's gonna make me do it better for you. And no,
you would not rather help
with
him
the tummy troubles.
That. Right, he's Jewish.
He's Jewish, Susie.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right.
The stomach issues alone. I don't want to deal with that.
Okay, well, yeah, because you're right. This documentary, let me tell you, it's not for the queasy, as you might imagine.
Really?
Gretchen, my sister, had to stop watching it because she said she kept gagging.
Oh, well, I could imagine if you're somebody who like is like empathetic to other people, like you see somebody and you have like the same like visceral reaction. Like she sees all those hot dogs go down their throat. I can imagine her being like, oh, nope, yes,
right,
totally.
And it's messy, like it gets everywhere. It's really gross. So I'm not saying you should watch it, but I am going to tell you why it's interesting. Okay, the film was set up as highlighting obviously Kobayashi, the Japanese champion.
He says, obviously, like we're all well versed in this.
You know him though, right? From the
I
Coney
do.
Island. Yeah.
I do.
Nathan's competition.
But this is funny because the way I know him is not from. I'm using context clues to put it together. But I've only heard somebody like teased and being like, "Okay, Kobayashi" or whatever. Like I've only heard it as like somebody's
It's a slur.
Yes. Like, so I'm like putting it together here that maybe he's the winner of an eating contest. Got it.
Yeah, like before him, it was a joke contest. Like it was just silly on 4th of July at Nathan's Hot Dogs,
right?
On what is that? Coney Island. And but then he flew in from Japan and really lit the sport on fire because in Japan they have more of a tradition of like competitive eating, and like I guess they have like TV shows and all that wacky game show stuff over there. And so he had been doing this for a while, and he took it real seriously. And out of nowhere, he's eaten like dozens. And so then it becomes like really exciting. And the PR company that Nathan's had hired became like the third character of the documentary, because you have Kobayashi, and then we have his American counterpart, Joey Chestnut.
Oh, yes, Joey Chestnut.
You know Joey, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then
I feel like one of my favorite shows is Bob's Burgers, and I feel like they made their character Jimmy Pesto like a nod to like Joey Chestnut because it sounds so similar.
Well, and I do enjoy that his last name is a food. It's something you can't eat.
Is it not the best?
So,
Joey Chestnut sounds like the most made-up name there ever was. That's like George Glass.
It totally is.
Like somebody didn't have a boyfriend on Christmas Eve and was like, I swear, Joey Chestnut.
It's roasting on an open fire.
Yeah, right.
Right. You're so right.
He couldn't make it because of a fire. I mean, what?
Stop dying. Okay. Pardon my cough. Okay. So then those two are the competitors. And then the third character of the doc is the sort of PR company that's using these people as, ways to build interest in the hot dog company. And I know I always compare everything to the challenge, okay? But it really is like that, because these guys, this means the world to them. But this PR guy, he doesn't give a shit. He just wants to sell Nathan's hot dogs.
Right.
And so he ended up really on purpose.
He doesn't even see it. That's totally the same. The producers are like, we're just trying to sell more of these shows and advertising. And meanwhile, Wes is out there calling it America's fifth major sport.
Right. And like people are training for it, taking like steroids, doing whatever.
Oh, come on.
Whatever it takes, risking their life.
The fact, this really shows you how dedicated they are. They're reading and learning puzzles.
Sarah, you're so right.
Forget the athleticism. That's already given. They care about their image. They don't care. These guys learned how to do Sudoku, not just do more than just pronounce it, like actually complete a puzzle.
That is exactly right. And speaks to the commitment. And that's how it is in this documentary. But the Barnum and Bailey guy who's like, come one, come all, look at these guys. He created this narrative of America versus Japan. Like he thinks it's Rocky or some shit. Right. And Kobayashi for a few years had been a hero because he had turned it into this amazing thing.
Oh, and now
then
he's the enemy.
There's an American. Yeah.
Oh, I
cried at the end, Sarah, of a competitive eating documentary because Kobayashi went crazy. Like he lost his marbles.
Like for real?
Yeah, because the PR company made them sign contracts. Does this ring a bell? Oh, yeah. And they couldn't do any other things on the competitive eating circuit. They had to only do Nathan's ones. And these guys basically had the keys to their whole competitive eating careers, which I know sounds stupid.
Right.
But to these guys, it's their whole life.
Right.
So Kobayashi refused to sign
your
the
identity
contract.
Is that,
and then when he refused to sign the contract, they wouldn't let him participate in the 4th of July event. And so he was in the crowd and he like went crazy and he stormed the stage and got arrested. Oh. Like they arrested him.
Oh, no.
Can you believe?
Yeah.
All over hot dogs, Sarah.
Oh, man. Wow. The power of the wieners.
For real. Mm-hmm. I knew that wiener sandwiches were powerful.
Yeah.
But they are truly life-changing for these guys. Although I just want to add one more thing, which is that the training that they do is hilarious. Like they do burping exercises.
I did see, I feel like I saw like an MTV, like True Life on this, like True Life, I'm a Competitive Eater or something, where there was a lot of work on like creating space in your stomach.
Yes,
but
Sarah.
Like you have to like stretch your stomach out. Mm-hmm. But
and
then
you kind of move
be
things
able to like,
around.
like move it. It's so weird. But
and you know how Kobayashi, if you can recall, both of them really are very thin and fit.
Yes. Yeah.
And Kobayashi says he doesn't even eat food until like 3 days before the competition, that like his training up until then is about the speed. So he practices like the arm motions.
Oh my God.
Like dipping the buns.
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Do you have to eat bun and hot dog together as one?
No.
You can do it separate, but you do have to consume both the bun and the dog.
You do. And then Nathan started cracking down on water supply.
Yeah, because that feels like cheating. I'm telling you, I one of the things that I always say I'm good at everything, but like I really am good at competitive eating.
Well, yeah, because you have no tonsils too.
I know. And I've proven it on the challenge. Like it's really, so I just swallow things whole, which sounds disgusting and gross, but it works.
Well, no, I think you'd be a ringer in there.
I know. People are always like, how the hell did she eat so many of those so fast? I mean, did
you ever consider entering the sport?
No, not so much. Stop. But I was the most excited when there was an eating challenge on the challenge, because it always felt like, here's my time to shine.
This is your go time.
That's right.
Well, so then in that case, I mean, I know you talked about it, how the reason that you chose to run naked instead of eat the sheet cake was because of like the food issues of the sugar.
Yeah, I knew physically that I couldn't eat that much cake. I knew I would vomit from that.
You're more of a savory competitor.
Yeah, actually, that's totally true. But like, when you get to a place where you have like too much, if you even eat, like, I feel like if I eat a bag of Skittles, it does that where my mouth just feels like it actually can't take that much. And then you want me to run the glucose level. It felt like that a sheet cake would be harmful to my health. But 52 grape leaves, those dolmas, which I ate, were fucking delicious.
That's
to me,
like
that was
your
like
dream
appetizer.
Food.
Exactly. I'm like, you just gave me an ingredient on the mesa platter, which is my like desert island, like last meal, everything I want dish. Like, yeah.
I want this. It'd be like if they gave me bottomless chips at Chili's.
Correct.
Yeah, you kind of had
my
the
dream
advantage there,
right? And then I tried to like play it off. I was like, oh yeah, I mean, like I could do that. Yeah, that'd be like delicious.
Like a hustler.
Meanwhile, I'm like, yes.
My dream is to wear nothing but Honey Love shapewear because it feels like a dream.
Absolutely, that is the perfect plain outfit.
That is the truth.
Yes.
Their leggings are top notch. My number one faves of all time.
Yes.
They just kind of hold you in, make you feel so comfy, not restricted though. And then they have all the right pockets and
they don't ride down. I have recently made a regrettable purchase of a knockoff pair of leggings that
big mistake.
Suze, when I wore them on the airplane. And what happened is the friction against the seat, like it made it so that I had to spend a significant portion of my flight just pulling up my pants because they kept
hiking them up.
Hiking them up. And did that happen with my Honey Love leggings? Absolutely not.
Heck no.
They got all those panels to hold it in place. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Little side pocket to put my cell phone in.
It's got it all. And they have lots of shapewear. They have an amazing bra. They're like, the compression on those babies holds my tummy in. It's great. Treat yourself to the best shapewear on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/braincandy and use our exclusive link to get 20% off. honeylove.com/braincandy. Anyway, okay, it's enough about that. I'm sorry I went on too long about competitive eating. A lot of what I wanted to talk about is like, there are several debates for me. First of all, this is old news because you were away, but like, were you privy to the conversation about Vanna White's salary over the last 18 years?
No, I was not.
I don't know why it just came out, but they were talking about how she hasn't gotten a raise in 18 years.
That's insane.
Yeah, and she makes like, I forget what the number is. Let's say it's $3 million, and Pat Sajak makes like $20 million or something crazy. And so people were having this big debate about like how men are always paid so much more than the women, even though like, let's face it, neither of them have a very hard job.
Right.
It's whatever. And so what are your thoughts on that? Because like people were framing it as like the glass ceiling type of argument. Mm-hmm. For me, I didn't see it that way because that just says you have a shitty agent.
Yeah, I would like, agree with that.
There was no discussion about whether she had tried to get a raise and was turned down. Yeah, that would be
my question. Because I think when this debate comes up of like the glass ceiling or like the wage gap, all that,
equity, yeah.
There's always this like, well, are women asking for a raise? But you kind of like have to zoom out and like look at that as the like what that says, that we have societally or whatever, like trained women to either feel like they can't ask for what they're deserving of, that there's kind of that, well, you should just be happy that you have the position kind of attitude, like we can easily replace you kind of feeling. And I think a lot of women experience that, especially in the world of like, I'm thinking about like the female sportscasters who are like on ESPN, all those things. Like I've heard interviews that they give where they have this feeling like there's somebody younger and prettier who's coming along. They don't ever replace the men. Those men are like doing it until they're gray and have like a big old belly and like nobody cares. And
looking at you, Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah. And the women are like, so there's maybe this feeling of like, oh no, I don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to ask for anything more. And
that's fair.
But
I hadn't
it's
thought
a
about
bigger, that. It's a more systemic, like bigger picture problem that.
Yeah. I guess I would be more upset if I knew that she had attempted to get more money and they just said, no, we'll replace you or something like that. Because as far as I know, they weren't even trying. Maybe they were, her agent sucks and was like, yeah, just take it and don't say anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do hate the thing where people are like, she'll be fine. She makes plenty for turning letters around. When nobody says that about goddamn Pat Sajak.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
And just because, they kind of do the same thing to us in the challenge of like, well, you guys just, they're fine. They want a challenge. Like,
That is so true. Why is everything like the
now
challenge?
I'm doing it. We're comparing everything. But
it's always true though.
Just because something isn't the worst ever doesn't mean we should ignore the inequality and unfairness of, or like the like what's going on, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I just never hear the same sort of like, he'll be fine comments. like about men.
Right, because they feel like
it's
they're
they
deserving
deserve
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it. Okay. I just wanted to get your
Ugh.
feedback on that. Okay. Do you want to talk? Oh, let's talk about this. So there's 3 parts to this. The first is, one fun thing about having a kid is that like he wasn't alive for like stuff that feels very recent to me.
Oh, that's
Or
a
he
really
wasn't
good point.
like aware. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'll be referring to something and then I'll be like, wait, you're not aware of this. Cause I wanted to talk to him about this book I was reading. It's called The Experience Machine, and it's about your brain and how your brain is really good at predicting things and like filling in gaps of information and stuff like that.
Totally.
And one of the cool chapters included a section on the viral dress, the gold, cream, black and blue dress.
I have a story about this
Okay.
later. Okay.
And so, I thought, I don't know what color he thinks the dress is. I don't know what Lincoln is. And so I asked him and he hadn't heard of it. So we did it. And he's in the black and blue category. And so is Adam. And I am in the gold and cream field. And so that matched with what I learned in the book, which is they found that people, the way you saw the dress depended on, your experiences in life and assumptions you made about the photo. If you saw the photo and thought that it was lit with natural light, like sunlight, then you were more likely to see it as golden cream. And you're also more likely to have been a morning person. And those are exactly my experiences. And I know that Adam and Lincoln are night people. And I had asked them, what lighting do you think this dress was in? And they described, like in a fitting room, like not natural light, fluorescent light.
Huh.
And so I thought that was so interesting. And I also wanted to know, I assumed you're a blue and black.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you saw that dress, that's what color you saw.
Yeah.
It really
sure.
isn't
I
a
can
remarkable thing.
Yeah.
Because those colors are not similar.
I'm not going to save this story for the next episode.
Oh, I know. I know about
now.
the murder. The attempt.
He's a freaking attempted murderer.
That was the third part of what I was going to say. And then next day I see this headline like, what the fuck?
What is happening? I'm like, okay, come on. What
is wrong with him?
What is wrong with him? This is like nobody should ever become famous for anything because they're probably a murderer.
Right. I mean, listen, if you had been on Ellen because of your dumb mother-in-law's dress, can't you just sit and be happy?
Yeah.
And stop beating up your wife?
I mean, and what do you think, like, look at how the world reacted to a photo you took. You think we're going to be all quiet about the murder?
Yeah. And he
or
says...
attempted murder?
He says he didn't do it. He tortured that gal for 11 years.
Yeah, they all say they didn't do it.
I hope he rots in jail, and I think his wife should get a different dress.
Yeah, and a different
and go have
husband.
a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she should find a new husband, and that mother-in-law should strap on that dress.
Yeah. Golly. That's
Yeah, that
nuts.
was crazy. I did not see that coming.
No.
Welding instructor Alex DeClaire knows VR training platforms like Forge FX help students master their skills.
There's a big learning curve with welding. Virtual reality simulates that exact muscle memory that they need.
Learn more at meta.com/metaverseimpact.
Yeah.
But for real though, I know that you guys are right that it is a black and blue dress in real life.
I'm trying to look for the picture of it right now.
Yeah, because I need when you don't see that color, it is really scary that other people do. And I can't try to change it. I can't get my eyes.
Wow, no, I can't see anything but blue and black.
And is it real dark in your head? And in real life, it is.
In my head, it's almost like this is in a room that's lit with like fluorescent light, and then behind it is outdoors that's very bright. And so it feels like this is indoor lighting that is... What was the answer? Is it gold and white or is it blue and black?
No, it's black and blue.
Oh.
In real life.
I can't... Now, it's so... The more you look at it, the more it turns that color. Now it's just straight up like... Before there was like maybe a little bit. It's just gotten darker the more I look at it. I don't know.
Okay,
That's
you know
so
how like
weird.
when that happened, scientists were all like, let me explain. And they were like real excited to finally have people give a shit about their dumb research. But... if it's like so explainable and, you know, they can tell you why it happens, how come it is such a rare, this had never happened before in that kind of severe, extremely different coloring. It's not like different shades of red or something. White is nothing like black.
Yeah.
And so like why is this such an unusual thing to happen?
I think there was something more about... We have different examples of this all the time. There's that ballerina that turns one way and then turns the other way, depending on how you look at it or whatever it is.
But we kind of can choose to see it both ways. You know, like we can flip it in our brain if we try hard enough.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is like, I cannot see black and blue.
Wow, that is
I
so
hate
crazy.
that.
Yeah, I think because maybe it is that however that wiring is, it's so real that you have to almost defend it more and then therefore like share it more. Like the virality, is that the word? Like how viral it went. That is the thing that like maybe we were just, the timing of that was just perfect. People were looking for something. True. You know,
it was very much in like the Facebook, Twitter heyday.
Yeah. You know, and if it, I often think like, do these viral moments line up with things that are happening like culturally or politically, things like that? Like, is this like a voting year and everybody was just like really big on like, this is my decision, but they like, it was just like pre like pandemic or Trump before like people like felt like they could say. It was a simpler time. And so like that we just had to like be really this side or that side about something else. Yeah, something like that.
Here's some old gossip.
Ooh, I love old gossip.
Let's play the theme song. We haven't played that in a while.
Old celebrity stories, classic drama at its best. No need to wait for entertainment updates. This is gossip from the vintage press. We have the whole story. Let's take a look at those facts. Addicted to drama and you just can't stop it. Well, you better listen to Old Gossip.
So I also watched the Bruce Lee 30 for 30.
Oh.
And that I was a little slow, but here's what was interesting. What a guy, huh? That guy, I couldn't believe how good he was.
Like amazing.
It's all like new to me.
Is it him or his son who died?
His son.
His son. That is such a sad story.
Yeah. On The Crow.
Yeah.
The set of The Crow. Remember Dwight's favorite movie?
Yes. I'll never forget. Right. Crow.
Okay. So Bruce Lee, he died at like 32. Officially what happened was that he had a really bad migraine. He took medicine and had an allergic reaction. His brain swelled and then he died. Okay. So that's not like, it's so terrible. But what is even more bizarre is the reason that he had these migraines is because he removed his sweat glands under his armpit because they didn't look good on camera.
What? What?
he thought the sweat under his arms did not look good on camera.
So
had
he
his
removed
sweat
them?
glands removed surgically.
Yeah.
So then his body couldn't sweat to cool down.
And
so then he would get
it builds
these,
up of toxicity, of like toxins,
and he would
I bet, 'cause you
overheat.
have
So he would have like hyperthermia and then get a migraine. And then that's why he took the medicine. Isn't that unbelievable?
Okay, the people who are getting Botox in their armpits so that they don't sweat should definitely not do
Well,
that.
they're probably not doing the kind of workouts Bruce was doing.
That's probably true.
But I mean, still, like you
That's
do need
crazy.
to sweat.
Yeah, who knew? Like, that's one of those weird things where, like, you change one thing and it has, like, the cascading effects of, like, oh, God,
Exactly. Anyway,
it's terrifying.
like he was incredible, such an interesting life, and it's so sad that he passed so early. And then it's so sad what happened to his son, as you pointed out on the set of The Crow. But that reminds me, we have an interview for this episode with Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight Schrute on The Office.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I interviewed Rainn Wilson for this show, Break Any Podcast.
I didn't even know this!
Yes. Remember in the live we were doing, I talked about how like he had a book come out called Soul Boom. And
Yeah,
it's about
but
really-
like I was like thought we were like shooting the shit. Like, yeah, maybe we'll get him. Like how we like talk about that. Like, not like we like actually get these people.
Yes, he kind of
Susie!
said yes. Wasn't that nice?
My heart rate just went way up.
My God, Sarah.
Oh, I'm fangirling for something
Well,
that's
you
been
should.
pre-recorded.
You should be fangirling because what a sweet, kind, generous person he was to me. It was really nice.
This is the best news.
Because you know how when somebody's that
Well, you
kind
are
of
meaning
famous.
you're you know, you're like samesies. Like,
Well, Sarah's referring to the fact that she and I took a personality test, and it gave me,
independently
like,
of each other. Like she took it, I took it. We were not taking it together or anything like that.
and it gives you like a TV character that you're like, and she got Michael Scott from The Office, and I got Dwight Schrute. And at the time, I was like, "How am I like Dwight?" But I totally am.
Yeah, and
Like very, abrasive and like follows the rules and gets mad at people for not good reasons.
yes.
But
Sarah!
anyway,
Michael.
so he wrote a book called Soul Boom,
Amazing.
and it's about what he believes that we need a spiritual revolution. And that is compelling to me, is why does Rainn Wilson think this world needs a spiritual revolution? And so he just lays out the ways in which our society is in crisis. There's a mental health crisis. There's a loneliness crisis.
Yes. Oh.
Deaths of despair are on the rise. Communities are pretty much non-existent. And he argues that the thing that we're missing is, a soul awakening and connection with each other. And I think he's a fun messenger for that, because maybe people will be inclined to listen. He has a show where he goes, I think it's on Peacock, and he goes and seeks happiness sort of in the way that like Phil Rosenthal's shows about food.
Yeah.
Rainn is looking to see what makes people happy around the world.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, and I think he would say that part of the reason why he's passionate about it is because he does struggle with depression and he does have anxiety, and that this has been a salve for him and has been good for his soul, and he thinks a lot of people are like him. And I think he's right. And so that's what we talked about. So if you're looking to hear like behind the scenes about The Office, this ain't it. But
This is
if you want
better.
to hear, it is better because it's about stuff we all need. And don't lie, we all need it. So I think you'll enjoy it. And I have to say that this was recorded before the SAG AFTRA strike. So he didn't violate the strike, which prohibits people from doing these kinds of interviews. So I just wanted to make that clear that this was done before that. But
so
anyway,
amazing.
people should check out Soul Boom because he has a really interesting religious history. He's a part of the Baha'i faith, which you can read all about in his book, and why he's still a believer and why that tradition speaks to him. But this book is for everybody. He's not proselytizing or trying to convert people or something like that. This is about why everybody should find a path that speaks to their soul. Anyway, let me see. I guess that's all for now. I have so much to talk to you about because you've been gone so long. So I guess I'll just have to save it all for later.
Episodes.
But I'm so glad you're home and
Happy to be home. And I'm so excited for this interview.
CarMax is putting peace of mind back in car shopping by putting you in the driver's seat to find a ride that's right for you. Because at CarMax, we believe you shouldn't just settle for a car. You should love your car. That's why every car we sell is CarMax certified quality, so you can be sure with upfront pricing that's the same for every customer. So don't settle. Find love at first drive and start shopping now at CarMax.com. CarMax, the way car buying should be.
welcome to the show, Rainn Wilson. Rainn Wilson, welcome to the Brain Candy Podcast. I'm so honored. I mean, it's not every day I get to talk about religion with a guy like you.
Wow. That's quite the intro. I'm honored. I'm honored to be in Brain Candy, although maybe Soul Candy might work a little better for our conversation.
Right. Well, maybe that's what the candy is like soul. It's like a bait and switch. You know what I mean?
Okay. Very
because
good.
don't you feel like you're kind of on this mission to have people talking about stuff that actually matters? And I feel like in my experience, people sometimes resist it. Do you notice this, or are people open to it with you?
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate point of the book is not to convince anyone of anything, but to start a conversation, which is especially around spiritual topics, because we just culturally very rarely do. And there is a great deal of avoidance. There's a great deal of denial. Yeah. I have a chapter on death, death and how to live it, and how death frames life. And death is something that should be explored and considered and excavated and shared about, because not because it makes us all depressed and sad and blah, 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 boo-hoo, but because it again frames life and can revitalize us in a lot of ways. And culturally, we just don't talk about it. That's just one example.
Do you think the reason, though, is because there's a fear there, or just that idea of not in polite company, it makes people feel a little uncomfortable, or that you might be persuading them about something?
Right. So there's all of that.
Yeah.
One of the issues with death is we live in a very polarized society right now that is split down party lines, and a lot of the political right are Christian, and a lot of the fundamentalist Christians believe in heaven and hell. And so conversations about death have had a lot to do with, like, are you going to be saved, or are you going to burn in hell for all eternity? So that kind of puts a damper on the old discussion about death. So putting that aside, because that is a kind of what I would call a religious trauma, really, that we've undergone. But nonetheless, death and our journeys through life and what potentially happens to us is part of the human conversation that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years. In fact, the earliest evidence that humans believed in something beyond the material goes back hundreds of thousands of years in burial sites where people were buried with swords, with dogs, with sleds, with, all the accoutrements that they would potentially need to continue their journey. So we've been engaged in this. So we have to kind of set aside the kind of hyper-partisanship and fundamentalism of the last 50 to 100 years and kind of engage in a much larger, deeper conversation.
Well, that's no small thing, for sure. And people are resistant to it. Although I think there is common ground, at least insofar as everyone sort of agrees that things aren't going great. Like people are depressed, they're struggling. There isn't that joy that you talk about in the book. And so maybe that's the inroad is like, hey, good news. It doesn't have to be like this, right?
Well, so this was my COVID project, and I spent 3 years kind of pouring my heart and soul into this book, and I had no idea if people were going to respond. I had no idea if people were going to jibe with it or like it, or, you know, if atheists were going to hate me, or if, you know, Christians were going to hate me, or whatever. And I've been very gratified on a number of different levels, because speaking to exactly what your question was, I think as kind of what I would call materialist secular liberalism has kind of been crumbling a little bit around the planet, and it hasn't exactly been working out. Not to say that we couldn't return to some kind of far more democratic, evolved political system, but people are much more open to other ideas now than they were 5 or 10 years ago. And even some spiritual ideas. And I've had very positive feedback from people that are atheists and agnostic, as well as born again Christian, to be saying, hey, maybe some of these fundamentals of spirituality, like compassion and community, are some concepts we should be having deeper conversations around.
That's what baffles me, though, about the human condition, because you talk about in the book how joy and peace and transcendence can come from connecting and being of service, but we all screw it up all the time and then continue to be selfish. So it feels like exercise where nobody wants to do it because it's hard, but then when we do, it pays off. But like, it's so daily.
Yeah, it is. It's the most ancient spiritual struggle. And if you go back to the most ancient spiritual writings, like the Vedanta, the Vedas and Upanishads, and it's the human struggle against our own ego. You know, that's what it is. And ego is strong, and it ain't going anywhere. And it is constant, because it's our insistent animal self that wants pleasure and wants status and wants power and wants security in a very insecure world. And you know, being vulnerable and giving and sharing and building community, those are hard tasks that sometimes run contrary to self-interest. So what do we harness ourselves to be more altruistic, to be less self-centered and more other-centered? And this is part of the ancient spiritual conversation.
So you're engaged in this all the time and talking about Soul Boom and on your show, look, Geography of Bliss, all that jazz. So this is just your daily practice. Are you getting better at it? Is there progress, hope that some of us can improve? Or is it like you still feel the same? It's every day.
Well, you know, I try and be very clear in this book. Like, I'm not some kind of guru. I'm not some wise dude. I'm certainly not any Dalai Lama, but I'm also not any Eckhart Tolle. I'm not even in Oprah territory. I'm just someone who's very spiritually curious. That being said, as I have sought to walk this path over the years, I have found my life getting better. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older and I just, you know, have relaxed a little bit more, but I feel myself more surrendered. I feel myself more at peace when there are vicissitudes that come my way. I'm more able to let them roll off my back. And I feel like I have a more inclusive, transcendent perspective on the meaning and journey of life. Me personally, it has worked. It's been a long road, but I'm not any kind of perfect example at all whatsoever.
Do you feel like, having been a person in the public eye and feeling people, you know, you're a symbol to them of joy and maybe escape and maybe that connection. So when they see your face, they see that. Do you feel like that has been helpful, or it can cause you to sort of chase the wind and go down the trappings of like the Hollywood, you know, razzle dazzle?
Well, the Hollywood razzle dazzle was definitely something I was swept up in the early years of The Office in a way that was really detrimental to my well-being. I got great fame late in life. I had been acting for a long time, and Dwight took off when I was about 39, 40 years old. And all of a sudden, I was being offered movies and development deals and big contracts and stuff, but they weren't really working out very well. The movies I did didn't do very well at the box office. And I found myself living in in kind of a deprivation mode of like, I want more. How come I can't have more? And my ego got very big. You can ask my wife. And I had a lot of struggles in those years. I had a lot of struggles, and it's taken me a while to kind of really unpack what happened. So now I seek to engage in deep, meaningful spiritual conversations with people, especially young people, Gen Z and millennials that could really use and benefit from spirituality during this mental health crisis. And because we're so polarized as a society between left and right, spirituality, I say like the spiritual baby has been thrown out with the religious bathwater. There's a lot of great truth in spiritual traditions and solace and wisdom that we could all benefit from that would make our lives better, but we've chucked it out. So I'm trying to use my platform as Dwight. That's the central question at the beginning of the book. Why in the hell is the guy who played Dwight writing a book on spirituality? And one of the reasons is because we need these tools and young people could really benefit from them.
Yeah, and I felt like you touched on something that irks me, which is that when they threw out the religious baby with the
spiritual baby with the religious bathwater. Yeah.
They embraced this idea of self-care. And I read this tweet one time that said, that's enough self-care. Let's care for someone else.
Nice.
Because I feel like that is sort of the secret, is that it's that weird counterintuitive idea that the more you give, the more you get back. But I don't know, man. I don't see it all the time.
No, we need to. Self-care is a good place to start. I think that tweet is perfectly said, because we don't want to eliminate self-care. For a lot of people, they're struggling so much and suffering so much that they don't have the self-esteem to take care of themselves. So a lot of self-care has to do with like, I'm precious and I'm important and beautiful and I deserve some of my own love, and we start with that. And then once that begins, then we can spread that and we can share that. But you're absolutely right. Again, it's moving from being self-centered to being other-centered. And we've got a lot of work to do. But there are, when you study positive psychology, you see the benefits there are mental health benefits to being of service to someone else. It actually increases your happiness and your well-being. And if maybe that's where we need to start doing it. Like, I've heard helping other people will make me feel better.
Sure.
And you let that be the way to begin, and then see how it develops and unfolds, because you do ultimately fall in love with it.
And the subtitle of your book, Soul Boom, Why We Need a Spiritual Revolution. What is a spiritual revolution to you? What does that look like? Well,
what I see happening in public discourse is a lot of partisan heavy debate that is seeking increased legislation and representation in Washington, D.C. to fix our problems. But at a core level, our systems are imbalanced because they're based on the worst principles of humanity. They're based on avarice and lust and self-aggrandizement and aggression and what I would call hyper-individualism. Mm-hmm. And as long as our systems, any system, agriculture, education, healthcare, certainly politics, as long as our systems are based on that modality, on that dynamic, it doesn't matter what laws you pass in Washington, D.C., you're putting Band-Aids on a cancer. So the spiritual revolution is let's take a giant step back. And I literally have a chapter at the end of the book where I have aliens kind of talking about the problems on planet Earth as they're observing planet Earth. Like, what would aliens say about us humans? Because that's the kind of viewpoint we need to take a step back, 20,000 miles away from planet Earth and be like, how are we doing everything? We can't pass laws to limit CO2 emissions if we're so filled with avarice and we want comfort at all costs and we just want to buy everything from Amazon with one click and increase our profits year by year nonstop. Like that, those two things don't work together. That's sorry, that doesn't work. It's unsustainable. So a spiritual revolution is kind of re-examining the foundation of how we do pretty much everything.
And sort of dismantling the values and sort of goals of society. That's not a small job.
It's not a small job. It's a huge job. But it's happening whether we like it or not. I have a section in the book where I talk about the twin forces at work in the world today, disintegration and integration. So we see, in climate change activism, in the Me Too movement, in Black Lives Matter, we see some really positive forces for justice that kind of started at a grassroots level. And those are forces of integration, and we can lean into those, to the positive aspects of those at least. And then there are great forces of disintegration happening at the same time. So there's a lot of convolution. I don't know if that's even a word, but that's what's going on in the world right now. It can be very confusing, but we need to focus on the integration, the precious points of unity that we can find together and work on together.
During the process of writing or even promoting this book, were there any areas of feedback that caused you to change your mind? Because one thing that really struck me was your certainty, because that's what I lack. The more I studied religion, the less certain I became. It was sort of a house of cards. And so I was jealous of what I perceived to be your confidence and certainty about your worldview. But is that accurate, or do you continue to update your point of view?
That's a great question. It really has to do with decades of work and a lot of suffering. And I underwent a lot of mental health crises myself, especially in my 20s. And there are things I have to keep focused on, anxiety and depression among them. So there are things that I am as certain of that, as certain as I am that I have a body and I have consciousness. I am absolutely certain that there is a God, that there is a higher power. I have a chapter in the book called The Notorious God, kind of re-exploding the concept of God and, re-examining it in some fun, interactive ways. I absolutely know that there is a gigantic force toward creativity and good that is manifested in nature and in beauty and in art and in love. That I know 100%. So I'm gonna start with that and try and harness myself to the will of that force, to the light of that force. I'm just kind of pegged myself as my inner New Age hippie, but it's true. Other things I struggle with, and I have a lot of back and forth and up and down, but it took me a couple decades to kind of come to that realization.
Would you say most people are receptive to your message, or do you get some pushback?
Well, I get pushback from both political left and political right. So, which I know I'm doing something right. So the political left is like, oh my God, last thing we need is more talk about God and spirituality and religion. Yeah. And then from the political right, it's, it can be very fundamentalist in its viewpoint and its outlook, and say this is a dangerous devil's game here, where, you're talking about, Hinduism and Buddhism and truths from Islam and Sikhism and whatnot. So But that being said, people have been embracing it as the world continues to deteriorate and as our systems continue to be ineffective and unsustainable. I think people more and more are going to look for alternative paths and alternative remedies. And one of the most basic paths is we just have to love each other more. And we have to really have a deep, deep compassion for human suffering. And
don't you feel like with your book and with your series that because you're looking for those connections, that joy, the meaning, transcendence, then you see it?
Yeah.
If you think it isn't there, then you might miss it.
I heard a great analogy once. When you're going to shop for a car, and let's say you go into like a Hyundai dealership, and you've never been in a Hyundai dealership before, and you go look at the Hyundai Elantra or whatever, some car, and you're like, oh, this is kind of, and you test drive it and you think about it and like, I'm not quite so sure. Then when you go and you're just driving around, you see Hyundai Elantras like going by all the time
everywhere.
and you never saw them before.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. And that's a very astute observation that when we focus on love, connection, meaning, hope, and we meditate on those things and we put our life's focus toward those things, we see them more and more. We cultivate it more and more in ourselves. It is like going to the gym. It's like we're exercising muscles that we didn't know existed. And then we gain an increased consciousness about those muscles and those Hyundais as I just wove those two metaphors together effortlessly. You're welcome.
You describe your routine and how you maintain your focus and your, I don't know, spiritual life. Do you find it to be drudgery, laborious? Oh, I got to do that. Or is it something you look forward to?
It just like going to the gym. When I do my morning meditation, there's many days when I'm like, oh God,
Okay.
this is the last thing I want to do.
Yeah.
But I try and keep it really simple. Even if it's 5 or 10 minutes of just sitting quietly and watching the hummingbirds, buzzing around my garden, then that's enough. And it's a good place to start. And it does indeed, it makes my day better.
Right.
It makes my day when I meditate, when I exercise, even if I do like a cold plunge or something like that, like my day gets 10, 15, 20% better. So at this point, I'm pretty disciplined about it.
Yeah, it's routinized.
Because I need it, Susie.
Don't we all? It's
Yeah.
the human condition. And that's why you're always going to have more work to do because we are our own worst enemies so much of the time.
Indeed.
But what I love about you is that you could have just watched Tiger King and baked bread like the rest of us, but you didn't. You were useful and you did something that helps people, and that's remarkable. We have
Well,
go ahead, sorry.
thanks for saying it, but I do want to say like it also to me like this is really important. This is not like a hobby, like, oh, Rainn Wilson likes various religions and reading about Hinduism
Right.
and wants to share some of his learnings along the way. Like humanity needs this message. I am an imperfect messenger and I don't know if I've said anything right, but we need to be talking about this stuff, this mental health crisis, our political crisis, our global climate crisis, our human crisis with 8 billion of us on the planet. We just need this message. It couldn't be more important to me.
Well, I really appreciate that you did it. And I'm appreciative that you came on the show. We have one last question we ask everybody, which is that if you happen to have a vehicle, what do you keep in the trunk of your car?
Besides the bodies or that?
Yeah. Do you fit anything else in there or?
I have a vehicle right now. Here's the only thing in the trunk of my car. My tennis gear, because I've been playing a lot of tennis.
Are you good?
I'm pretty good.
Are
I'm pretty
you?
good. Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything you can't do?
Yes, there's a lot. I can't fix anything. I wouldn't know how to install a shelf. I don't know how to do. I'm not handy in the slightest. And I don't know how to cook at all. I couldn't cook I think I can do noodles and toast. That's about it. Scrambled eggs.
All right. Well, that's heartening because I was starting to feel, Renaissance man over there. But I'm grateful that you're doing the work that you're doing. And people should know, even though it is heady stuff, it's a hoot too. And
it's funny. I try and make it a little funny and entertaining, and a little more palatable that way.
Yeah, it's accessible. It's not intimidating, and it's relatable. And everybody will get something out of it. And that's pretty cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a delight speaking with you.
Likewise. And you're friends with my buddy Reza. So if you talk to him, tell him I said hi. He's
I will
sweetest.
indeed.
I love that guy.
He's awesome.
You're doing the Lord's work over there. But thank you for coming on Brain Candy. We love you and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure.
Thank you, Rainn. Have a great day.